Okay, welcome to the stream. Um, see something here. But I guess you can kind of hear what's going on in the other room. I'm not sure what to do about it. Hold on a sec. Wait, um, I'm getting some jerkiness just because I'm running two videos here. Um, Ignore whatever's going on in the background, I guess. We'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and change these to. I'm actually gonna change them both to 480, I think. Um, and let's see. Let's turn this to 480 as well because it looks like it's being really, really sluggish. And hopefully this will smooth out things a little bit. It still seems like it's a little, interesting, very interesting. I don't know if the jerkiness is from Firefox or if it's just from running video. Because maybe this would do it if I was running two videos. Let me try something. Let's take this back to tab here. Let's pause it for a second. And I'm going to, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to load it up here. I don't remember it being that tricky yesterday. So we'll let it stay at 480, which is what it's at right now. I'll put it on loop. Picture in picture, like that. Interestingly enough, it's tiny because it's 480. But 480 to keep it smooth is probably fine by me. There. Hold on. Oh, I see what it's doing. We'll just leave it like that. Interesting. So, the Brave version here. Gotta make it smaller. Here, then I can. It looks like it's going smoothly now. I don't know if looks like the Brave one's doing better job. Of course, this is a second. Like I said, this is at 480, and so starting at 480 instead of here. I'll leave it like that for right now. And okay, okay. Let's see here. Let's refresh this. Okay, and then let me hold on. Welcome to the welcome to episode 237 part 1. Okay, everything's good. Everything's going. Everything's cool. Cool. Um, give me a quick second here. Uh, Streaming now. If anyone interested, link in so link in self promo. Okay, good. All right, that's probably fine there. What's this? Godot announce? Okay, 4.6. Okay, so um, let's go back to that. All right, alrighty. Yeah, I'm not like advertising everywhere. Okay. Greg thought I was starting early. It's not really early, but so I wonder if I can boost. I'm gonna attempt to boost the dancing up to 720, just in case it's not jerking around. Then it's not jerking around on my side. Hopefully, it's not jerking around in the video. But in any case, this. Like that. Okay. And this I can just sort of do like this here, so it just covers up the whole area. Okay, so I wonder if I can. Okay, and then I can minimize this, right? And the picture still stays up. Okay, good. So now we're back here. All right. Okay, so let me pull up recent saga. Okay, let me resize this. It's a little shorter. There we go. And there we go. Awesome. Could make that smaller, I suppose. If I make it smaller, it's gonna make all of them smaller. Huh. I could put a bunch of things there on the side. I don't know if that would. Yeah, not sure. I'll have to come up with some of my own stuff somehow. Not just for uh, not just for copyright reasons, but also just because so I can control like maybe I could like edit a bunch of videos where it goes, from the side down like that, and then my main screen is shrunk down, or the window is shrunk down to the size, so that I have like all around the edges I have like videos playing, and they're ones that I created or something. And maybe take a while to create some stuff. Anyways, uh, okay. So yesterday I was discussing with ChatGPT. Uh, I was discussing with ChatGPT where to kind of put my decision points. Now, um, even though it's pretty symmetrical, in other words, if I put two up here and two down here, that's symmetrical. However, that doesn't mean that's where I'm actually putting the deal. I was thinking that I was thinking a page. Oh, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? Okay, these are actual pages here, and so I'd split them. Um, Now let me check something here. Um, Honestly, this could actually be a single page here, but it's going to be split up back into multiple pages because I'm gonna put a light kind of a choice thing here. Um, their debate, their debate is not going to. I could show it. Well, it's supposed to be her story, so I could show it from her perspective, right? And so, what I can do is I could put the I could put that little bit that I had actually had created, and I know I was actually doing probably too much, but where I created the deal where she's talking and it's only like a couple of different choices, like a couple of pages. I can put those pages kind of back in, and that would actually go right in here. This is a resulting page. In other words, this is an after the fact, right? Um, so I can actually use that. Remember the old ones that I was doing. I can actually stick them back in there and just kind of hook them up, and that would be the kind of the light choice thing. And then this down here is just essentially cutscene page, really. I don't say cutscene pages because well, at least the chapter shouldn't be a cutscene. The page can be a cutscene, and what I mean by that is I do this thing where you have one and two, right, and then you have the decision points in between. So you can kind of go wide with that, you know, any order, whatever, um, multiple choice thing, and then you can go back to the resulting. So it's like problem and solution, right? Problem and solution. Problem is that Max wants the werewolves in his armies, and so he has to get Chorus Red to do it, right? Now there'll just be light choice, just for agency, just for a little flavor, so it won't be like an action choice, like what you choose to do here. But um, so 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 the problem is how do we get red to go down there? Okay, and then we take care of that, and then this is what happens when she goes down there, right? And honestly, red goes to Werewolf Village up here, not down here, but it's still the same thing. So in actuality, this actually belongs to this. So really, the page should um, go right there. So what do we got? Uh, and then this is just okay. Um, I'm okay. So the reason I'm just kind of pausing here is I'm trying to think if I want Max to go with her already. You know, normally you send somebody to do something because you're busy or you don't want to do it yourself or whatever, and he has to come down there anyways. So why don't I just shortcut that and have him go with her? Maybe for moral support, maybe to see how she handles it, maybe maybe to observe them. I'm not sure. Maybe he tells her that. Maybe he says he'll go with her as somebody else, as a friend or an acquaintance or whatever, or as her servant or something. Maybe she has a. Maybe he goes as her servant. Um, and just to see how they react to Red, and to make sure that nothing happens to her. Like maybe he pretends to be your bodyguard. Really, he's there to kind of observe how everything goes down. And then, of course, when they want proof, you can tell. Maybe she can tell the wolves that this guy works for Max. and thought that they might want some proof, and so that's what he's there for before actually revealing himself, or maybe he doesn't even reveal himself to them. But maybe we'll just I think, and so then it's she doesn't bring Max back. Okay. Max asks Red to go due to her history with them. Um, Max says he'll go with her, but pretend to be her bodyguard. Actually, well, maybe your servant. Um, and pretend. Wait a minute. Maybe. I know. I just thought of something new to add here. How about that? That's cool. Uh, I know it's just me thinking. It's not visual, but um, okay. Let me think of how to write this. Um, Max says he'll go with her as a werewolf to ensure her safety, and transforms himself. Uh, he also says she should tell them that he works for Max. Actually, that could be the demonstration itself. That could be, instead of healing a few of them, he'll turn into a human again, uh, and they'll be convinced, even though they don't really realize that he actually did it himself. Regardless of whether he can actually rid them of the curse, which he probably can, because he's a black wizard, whatever. He's an evil wizard. Not black as in skin color black. I mean black as in black magic, black arts, that sort of thing. Dark wizard, whatever you want to call it. Evil wizard, evil sorcerer, whatever. Um, okay. He works for Max. Okay. I might be able to. No, I'll just go ahead and leave it like this. I'll probably leave the choices the way they were. Uh, Red, with Max behind her, goes to the world. With Red with Max behind her, goes to the werewolf village. Red tells the werewolves, uh, um, we'll say tells the werewolf leader, they might be rid of their curse if they join Max's army. Tell Red, okay, in the village, in the werewolf village, I don't have to do that because that was part of the other. They tell Red they want proof of the curse being lifted. She gestures to Max, who promptly transforms back into a man. the werewolves will say throw Red and Max into a hut and discuss. They debate. Debate joining Max's army. They debate joining and eventually agree. And then bring Red and Max back out. Okay. And then Max returns. And we'll leave it at that. Presumably, I mean, I could put it in here. Red tells Max to return to the Renaissance. Return to the castle. We'll say return to the castle. Okay. Which he does. Okay. Okay, so let's see. The world leader. You know, is there some name I can use instead of Rottweiler? Because it sounds dumb now. They might all have regular names too. We have Thorn. The third in command is Thorn. We can say that Thorn is actually his name. Either his last name or his first name. It doesn't really matter. I'm thinking. Let's see. Uh, Rottweiler. I could actually think Kurt Wolf and then Scarlet Clover, and her name is actually Red. I mean, she uses the nickname Red. I could do something like, well, it's still Rottweiler, so it's kind of dumb, but you know, Roach. I was thinking of like, okay, so if we said Rottweiler, now obviously, um, that's still Rottweiler, but if I change the name to Rothweiler, call him Roth, and like Wrath, you can be called Wrath, as in Wrath, as in Wrathful, Wrathweiler. I didn't put Kurt Wolf down here either. I just said Kurt, right? So let's call him Wrath. I think I like that better. Control fire. And let's replace that with RATH. Replace all. And maybe, I don't know, Kurt Wolf, you know, Wrathweiler. That actually kind of works. So if they had a last name, right? Kurt Wolf Wrathweiler. Okay, and Thorn. We'll just leave Thorn as Thorn because Thorn doesn't sound. It doesn't have a cringy name to me. And so it could be his that could be his last name or whatever. Or maybe that he just has a single name. Maybe he doesn't have multiple names. Uh, so um, okay, that'll work, right? What is that? Is that part of the video? It's three. I guess it is. Oh, I see. They letterbox. They actually have letterboxing on the video. Oh, I see. Sometimes it's letterbox, sometimes it's not. Um, okay. Anyways, okay. So that actually kind of worked. This is kind of cool. So I'm transforming this. I'm tightening it up. It's actually making more sense, and I can figure out where to kind of put things into. So this is just technically a cutscene page or a result page or whatever you want to call it. So we do this. The your only choices are actually, how do I say it? Well, that's actually not right either in the sense that this page will be split into two for the little decision parts, but this will be a single page, which is fine because we can still do the linear. There's some of it's linear anyways, right? I have that in there, but it's not all going to be linear. It's just some of it is, right? That's a linear page. Now, um, this down here, there's going to be a decision point in here. I have to figure that one out. This one I already kind of know about. This one, I'm not sure. So let's go ahead and read. Kurt Rath, second in command, leaves Whirl Village after remembering Red and Violet's rivalry. Kurt then travels to Fairy Guide College to meet with Violet. Kurt reveals Red was promising to remove their curses and that he didn't want that. Kurt asks Violet to make him leader of the pack. Violet agrees if he eliminates Red and brings her Red's hood and the totem of leadership. Okay. Kurt returns, but he's near the village. He sees Max leave him and hides behind the huts. Kurt signals a werewolf warrior standing off away from the others. Kurt then tells Warrior to tell Red he knows who attacked Grandma to follow him. Kurt is then standing in the forest near the village when the warrior approaches. Kurt tells him to leave, and then he proceeds to reveal himself as Grandma's demise. It's just a way round way of saying that he took care of Grandma. The only sound that's heard from the forest is that various forest sounds. Okay, so now the only question here is this doesn't really warrant a choice either. Um, I know it's gonna break them up, and I know it's gonna add more to this, but maybe. Explains the most powerful world. Okay, right. But then returns to the village and disposes of Raph and his followers. Thorn goes and hides just out of the village. Outside the village. Okay. Let me see something. Could I move this down into here? I mean, it's still kind of the same thing, sort of. Uh, Let me think for a second. I mean, I guess it's okay if this is the chapter. It doesn't. They don't have to be even. I guess they don't have to be like 4 and 4. And I could put this back up here, and then huh, let me think for a second. Uh, I'm gonna try not to use the thing. You know what, guys? I'm gonna have to use the facilities real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and put this on desktop. Give me a few minutes, and I'm gonna ask you to forgive me for uh, running out to the restroom. So I'll be right back. You know, I'll be right back. Okay, just as I thought, everybody left. Well, two people left. I had to use the facilities and whatever stuff happens. Uh, okay, let's get back to it. I have to do something to find a way of getting people to watch. And just, I mean, I can keep posting in there, reminding everybody and bugging everybody. I don't know. I guess it might help if I start watching streams of others. Although a lot of the streams are on when I can't be on my computer. I only have a certain amount of time here, and then the rest I'm either spending with dad or I'm cleaning or lawn work or something. So I gotta figure that out. Anyways, okay, so I was deciding here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this. Okay, wait a minute. Where is that music coming from? Shouldn't be. That's not what I'm looking for. There we go. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. You weren't actually hearing it because I don't have the desktop audio on anyways, but making sure that music wasn't on. Anyways, let's go back. Okay, so okay, so one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to Chat GPT. Hopefully you don't mind. And go back to the conversation, which was a I should always there we go. Let's do that. And let's go ahead and close sidebar. And okay. So I'm considering um moving Act to B, i.e. the page um where Kurt grabs the totem of leadership. Um, back to the first chapter because I think that's where I want an action choice. Now, all this means in my context is that you can choose the order to get the totem and and or take care of red. This way, the first chapter doesn't feel like a bunch of uh, cutscene style pages. I don't mind um, having some, but if I'm splitting splitting up a page to put in a choice, I don't mind having some, but they're going to be the result or the initiation of a decision point. That is problem solution, and where that hyphen is usually a decision point. In this case, though, carrying out Violet's wishes results in you choosing which one you want to tackle first. That's really all of the choices. The whole game is just what order. I have a few bypass decisions that result in the same results, but you have to do both in this chapter, so that's why I'm considering moving that back. It could mean that I have one little flavor choice in the beginning where Max gets red to go down there, and then a decision at the end of the chapter about what to tackle first. Let's see. What to tackle first. And then I'll decide what decision points are in the second chapter. However, there's a small possibility that I could instead move the disposal of red to the second chapter, leaving only the flavor decision in the first one. But then there's not much to the first chapter, and I don't like having chapters that don't have much to do, because I can usually fit the text into one page. Hopefully that's all. Chapter 1, the end of chapter 1, not what things happen, but which you're not breaking the drama about function, not page number. You're fine. Compare the alternative. Disposal of red in chapter 2. Chapter 1 risk become purely preparatory. You already sensed this. There's not much to the first chapter. If chapter fits on one page, there's no meaningful action. Is this mainly to tee up the next one? It's probably not pulling its weight as a chapter. You either need to merge it anyways or artificially pad it, which you don't want. This pairing is actually very clean. Early flavor choice. They won't compete because they answer different questions. This is chapter 1 entry point. Okay, that works. So now I'm going to look at the rest of chapter 2. Chapter 2, in reality, it's chapter 6, and the arc resolves in chapter 16 at the moment, but first and second chapter in the arc. See if it can exist as its own chapter, and is there things to do in it. Let me look though. It was yesterday that we were discussing it originally. And although you may be able to access it instantly, I have to reread it being a normal human. Okay, so let's go back and let's reread the second chapter, which is chapter 16, but the second chapter in the arc here. Okay, we're gonna presume that this is actually gonna go up in here. So, in fact, let's just do this. We'll do this. Delete. It'll be like that. And so we'll see if this reads. If this can read as, I don't mind if it's in 3 pages. I want to know, is there going to be a couple of places where we can make decisions and actually action decisions. We can have a flavor decision. In fact, I could do that as a kind of model to have at least 2 in every chapter instead of just 1. Like before, it was like 1, but some of these have multiple things going on in the chapter, so um, maybe maybe I could put 2 in every chapter, and it doesn't matter where it's at because it can be on the front end or it can be on the back end. It kind of doesn't matter, just as long as it's there, I think. Okay, so let's read this as okay. So basically, Kurt has disposed of Red and has got the totem, and now we're setting up. We're coming back here because this all deals with Violet and Max, the aftermath. So this is the kind of the resolution. It's the sort of problem that's not really a problem, but it's kind of a problem. And that problem is that Violet got rid of Red, and Max doesn't like that. And the problem of still having the werewolves work for him. But they've already agreed in the other part. But when Kurt, let's see, Kurt doesn't take care of that. Wait a second. Uh, Kurt goes back to the World Village, back into the World Village, into Wrath's hut, grabs Daily, takes the totem. Okay. Sometime later in Fairy God College, Violet is grabbing select books from the library when she's called to her office. And honestly, it doesn't matter where she's at. Actually, what I had to do after deciding what should go where, I should go ahead and trim this down to just events, just what's needed. I put Wrath's or Rightwiler's, now Wrath's name um in in well, anyways, I put it in there because it's important to know that he's the leader and that Kurt's the second and then Thorn's the third. And you don't know, you need to know the names other than that. So okay, sometime later. Okay, Kurt is sitting in her chair. He drops the red's hood and the totem on her desk. Violet then casts a spell on the totem and hands it back to Kurt. She explains he's now the most powerful werewolf in all the Enchanted Lands. Okay, so we're gonna assume that she's not interested in the totem at all, and what the totem did is made him super powerful, and that's yeah, made him super powerful, right? So now that he can kind of take over leadership if he wants to. Um, Well, casts a spell, totem hands it back to Kurt. She explains he's now the most powerful werewolf on all Enchanted Lands. Kurt then returns to the village and disposes of Wrath and his followers. Thorn goes and hides just outside of the village and watches. Now, I don't know if I put Thorn anywhere up in here? Is he up in here somewhere? Oh, yeah. Thorn is Wrath's third in command, right there. Okay. Violet Scribe select. Okay. Thorn goes and hides. Okay. Back at the castle in the throne room, Max gets the magic mirror call. Barty sitting in his squat throne inside the Gnome Kingdom tells Max that what's been going on. Max finds out that John and Roland and most of the slaves were rescued by Hubert. Max, being suspicious of Red's long absence, asks Barty to go find out what happened. After a while, Barty goes to the castle with Red's hood and tells Max it was in possession of Violet. Okay. Um, After going to the werewolf village with Violet and confronting her and Kurt about Red, he kills Kurt with a fireball. Violet runs in the forest, and Max says he'll make anyone the leader dispose of her. Thorn comes back before giving the totem, says he'll only give it back if they agree to join his army. The werewolves under Thorn agree to join the army, and Max gives him the totem before returning to the castle. Now, okay. Okay, so there's a little issue. Well, actually, it's not much of an issue, I guess. Um, Presumably, okay, so Thorn is the last one of his followers, but let's say after Kurt is destroyed, um, Thorn doesn't necessarily have that much pull anymore. He's one of the last follower of Wrath, and so they wouldn't necessarily like him very much. Okay. It says he'll give it back, the totem. They have to follow the totem. Hmm. And there's an interesting little thing in there, and it's a little extension, and it's a little not really that important with the story. But let's say, what am I looking at? Everything going backwards? Eh, Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the dancing thing there in the upper right. But okay, so presumably the ones that are left are actually Kurt's followers, and they probably don't like Thorn very much. So there's a possibility I could add a little bit of extra in there. Um, Let me think of something here. Uh, hmm. Okay, okay, so the thing is there a place in here that I can put a decision point? I got the decision points up there. I got them. I figured out what I'm gonna do for them and stuff. But what about here? Where do I put the decision points here? This is exposition, right? Kirk comes back, and since he's so powerful, he destroys all of them. Uh, so this isn't a thing of where there's any kind of a choice here. And if Thorn is killed here, he's got to be killed for the rest of the game, rest of the story, because I can't do this. You know, later on when I actually have puzzles, I have actually states, and I have things where I can keep track of who's dead and who did what. Then I can actually make that a little bit more meaningful, where maybe Thorn isn't the leader. Um, and even that I have to be careful because this is still uh, a story based game. So if Thorn's not the leader, somebody else is the leader, that could affect things. Maybe it wouldn't affect anything though. Uh, you know what? This is interesting. Okay, so uh, let me think for a second. Since this is the wrapping up of the story, well, I can't really do that then. I have to make sure that I don't ever reference Thorn in the rest of the story at all if I do this. If I do this, regardless of whether he wins or not, um, because he could make a thing where, we'll say Max chooses someone, or maybe there's a couple werewolves that challenge Thorn, and you get to choose which one you want to use. That's gonna be that's kind of a new thing. It's new. It's not new. It's new in the fact that uh, this is something I have to make sure I remember to leave out. You know, in other words, the werewolves fighting in the battle is going to have to be fairly generic at this point. Not that I can't do it later, but that's a question. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT where it thinks some decision points should go, and I mean more along of action. And sorry about me rubbing my nose all the time. I don't know if it's like allergies or whatever, or I know it sounds kind of gross, but like nose hairs. I think it's nose hairs that when I move, it itches my nose. That's what I think it is. But it happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time. And right now my nose is kind of stuffed up, so probably it only bothers me when my nose is stuffed up. So pardon me for rubbing my nose all the time. I'll try not to do it, but it's like an itch. You sometimes you have to scratch the itch, you know. Anyways, let's do that. Let's do the thing I was talking about here. Um, wait. Let's go ahead. We're gonna copy this. Uh, so here is the second chapter here now, and I've changed Rottweiler's name to Wrath. To be fair, he has a full name, Rottweiler. Uh, I was trying to think of a play on the name, so I separated it like Rottweiler, but I wasn't going to leave his first name Rot. Instead, I went to Rottweiler, and then I was like, he's always Roth. But then I decided to change it to Wrath. Sounds like Wrath. Anyways, tell me where you think decision points could go, and that are actual actions and not deciding something or thinking of something or whatever. Did I paste it? Yeah. Sorry about that. I I just hit enter instead of pasting the actual text, which is here. Well, performing an action, the spell can support when it's done, how it's done, whether something interrupts or complicates it. Even if the result is fixed, the moment can be a host of do an average delay, complete versus partial type of action without needing to stay. Huh. That's not what one I would have said. When it's done, how it's done, whether something interrupts or complicates it. Um, Before I go on, that gave me an idea. The idea would be that I'll actually add that extra trip back in, and which is that he has to somehow he needs to get maybe well that's gonna be too gruesome though. I was gonna say maybe he needs to get the blood of somebody he's killed, the leader that he's killed or something, in order to work that. That's a little too much. Could say the fur could do that. Maybe she needs something else extra to complete the spell. I don't know. Okay, we'll table that for a moment. Kurt eliminates Wrath and his followers. Kurt then returns to the village and disposes of execution. Why it qualifies. This is a concrete violent act that clearly happens on screen, even if summarized could support approach, order, not outcome. Action anchors in the chapter. And of course, I'm still all ages appropriate. Um, okay, so here's the thing, right? I know people go, the thing about sex, let's say sex in a movie or show or something, and saying, well, the act of committing violence is worse because it's committing violence than sex is. And that to me is always a stupid argument because violent acts, we'll say in an action movie setting, not we're not talking about like a serial killer or we're not talking about horror movie or something, but violent acts in an action movie don't make me want to commit violent acts. In other words, it's not causing me to sin. I'm a Christian, so to lust after a woman is a sin. It's a it's not that you're tempted or that you're attracted or whatever. It's that you start looking at the nudie pictures, right? And you deliberately know it's a sin to lust, but that's why you're looking at the nudie pictures, right? Okay. the lust is kind of the burning desire thing, right? Um, to me, that's worse than seeing somebody shoot somebody, even violently, because it does not make me want to do it. The worst thing that it will do, if it's especially violent or gratuitous, is that it makes me desensitized. So if something real happened, maybe I wouldn't react as quickly. Maybe I wouldn't think of it as super serious, even though in the real world it would be super serious. That's the worst it would do. It's not actively making me sin. It's not making me want to murder somebody because somebody gets murdered on screen. So that's why I always think that's worse. But at the same time, all age is appropriate, meaning I don't want to see really gory stuff. I don't want to present gory stuff to kids, right? Even in cartoon form. Uh, even though this is not specifically a kid's game or story, uh, all ages appropriate means all ages appropriate. It means you can watch it. You can't be afraid that your kid is going to be traumatized or messed up from watching or reading or participating. Um, and that you can sit alongside your parents. If there's a sex scene on screen and I'm sitting with my dad watching the sex scene, I'm kind of like, yeah, I wish kind of, it's kind of uncomfortable to sit and watch something with your parents like that. I'm not saying I do watch sex scenes. I try not to. I try to. I make sure I try not to watch rated R movies or anything like that. But it's like that sort of thing. All ages appropriate means all ages appropriate. It means you can now. Okay, let's go back to the violence thing. Okay, so extreme case was like RoboCop, right? In fact, RoboCop had everything exploding on the body, and it had some of the grosser stuff in it, right? As far as a action movie goes, as far as violence goes, gratuitous violence. Um, if you ever watch an old 1930s western, what do? They shoot guys, they die on screen, but there's little to no blood. Sometimes there's a little bit of blood, like it's whatever for the story, right? Sometimes there's a little bit. They show a little bit, but they don't dwell on that. In other words, it's appropriate for all ages because you're not trying to gross somebody out. You're not exposing them to extreme stuff, right? And so that's the way I think you should do violence. A perfect say balance is like a PG-13 action movie, right? A rated R action movie might have like exploding body parts, like somebody fires a gun at somebody and the gunshot hits, they fire a bunch of squibs off and so it looks like a bloody mess, right? A PG-13 wouldn't do that. A PG-13 might have show blood and stuff, but it's not going to dwell on the violent act. It's not going to dwell on the violence, right? So that's where I got to think about that. I got to think about when he disposes of them, how I do it in such a way. I mean, we could do everything entirely off screen, but doing it in such a way that you're not grossing somebody out. And of course, it's just words, so it's probably not as big of a deal as it would be visually. But then I end up doing visuals for it too, so I have to decide. It's like how they kind of handle death and let's say let's say Bambi, was it Bambi? Well, okay, so there's the end of the Fox and the Hound, and that's in the '70s though, so maybe Walt Disney would never have a scene like that per se. But where there's this bear, and I think the bear is attacking the fox, and the hound dog comes up and jumps on it and starts biting it and stuff. And it's a pretty violent scene. It's not anything that kids can't watch though. And it's in the area of like nature, right? It's like how they would really react, right? That's that's the sort of thing that's okay. So that when I think about that, or in Lady and Tramp, there's a one part where these dogs that are chasing Tramp at one point, and then there's a fight, and it's kind of brutal in the way. It's the 1950s, but still, it's for what it is. It's kind of brutal. Or let's think of Bambi, for instance. Now, Bambi didn't show a lot, but the implication was that Bambi's mom gets killed by a hunter, right? By a shot. They don't even show anything. It's just there's just like the emotion of the thing. You hear the shot, and then Bambi's mom is dying, and you instantly know that the hunter was able to shoot Bambi's mom, right? And that's the whole kind of emotional basis for Bambi, right? And this was in the 1940s, right? And this was a kids movie. It really was. And the book it was based on is essentially a children's or maybe a young adult, maybe a teenager, maybe a preteen um, reader for Bambi. But Walt Disney kind of noted that the thing about nature and stuff and how things work, right? People die and other people don't die. So whenever you see some Disney stuff, they kind of don't shy away from that stuff when it's necessary. You know, um, oftentimes the story doesn't have a some sort of violent end or whatever, but when it does, they handle it properly. And so that's what I would try to do in this deal. So yes, they're werewolves. Yes, they ate grandma. We won't really so much say it. We'll imply it, right? Um, he takes care of Kurt, eliminates the leader and most of the leader's followers, and we're gonna find a way of doing it to where it's not so violent to read or violent to watch if I put it in animated form. Okay, let's go on now. After I've talked too much and I'm almost done with part one, Max sends Barty to investigate. Max asks Barty to go find out what happened. Action delegation. It's literal command with a clear action following. It can support urgency versus caution, secretly versus force, smaller but legitimate. Good if you need a one mid-chapter action, skippable if density is already high. Yeah. Since this is in chapter 2, it won't be a big deal. But if I have a big thing, okay. Max confronts Kurt and Violet. After going to the World Village with Violet, he kills Kurt with a fireball act. Immediate violence, why it qualifies. This is a decisive physical act, not a reflection. Even if Kurt always dies, the moment of execution can support timing, escalation, method, framing. This is a clean action beat. Max's ultimate made him Thorne's negotiation. Thorne says he'll only give it. Well, Max says he'll only give it back if they rejoin. It's conditional transfer of an object. You can support accepting now versus pressure later, immediate handoff versus delayed agreement. No state required, it resolves immediately. Weak or non-action candidates, skip these. Kurt sitting in Violet's chair, obviously. Violet explaining the power, right? Thorin watching from the forest, yes. Barty reporting information. Max learning about Hubert's rescue. These are informational or observational, not actionable. Practical takeaway. This chapter can absolutely stand on its own as an action-capable chapter. Realistically, you'll need 1 to 2 of these. You have 5 legitimate action hooks available. If you trim to the best, must-have, Kurt eliminates Wrath. Max kills Kurt. Optional support, Violet spell, Thorin's totem negotiation. Plenty of things to do without overloading the chapter. Bottom line, this chapter is not passive. It already contains more actionable material than chapter 1, which is exactly what you want after moving the earlier decision there. Your instinct to check this was correct, and yes, it passes the test. Okay, good. Good. About ups, but let me... maybe I should just cut it now. Okay, I need to break... Oh... back in an hour. Even though that means little to you. Alright, so we're gonna cut episode. We're gonna cut part 1 there, and I will see you in an hour where we're gonna resolve this. This is cool. I don't know if I'll get to doing chapter 6 and 16. In fact, this is funny. Chapter 6 and 16 will be done at the same time, which is good because I'm working on them as an arc. So that actually kind of works. So that when I get to that point, it already have been done. That's cool. Maybe I should do more like that. Maybe I should find the ones that take more chapters and work on them together. I might do that. I might do that. Which case it might speed up things. Okay. So thanks for watching. Thank you for watching part 1, and see me in an hour for part 2.